Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learn English with Sam and Pam, the podcast where we help you learn English in a slow, clear, and simple way. And today we are talking about a very useful real-life topic, which is how to speak English in a restaurant, because many learners travel, study abroad, or simply want to feel confident when ordering food in English. And today we are also going to focus on British English vocabulary, and we will explain some differences between British English and American English, because sometimes the words are different and that can be confusing for learners.
Yes, that is true. And restaurants are very common places where people need practical English, because you may need to ask for a table, read a menu, order food, ask questions about the food, and pay the bill at the end. And if you know these basic expressions, you can feel much more relaxed when you visit a restaurant in an English-speaking country.
Exactly. So, let's imagine we are entering a restaurant in London, and the first thing you may hear is a worker saying, "Hello, do you have a booking?" And in British English, people often say booking when they talk about reserving a table, but in American English, people often say reservation more frequently. And both are correct, but it is useful to know the difference.
Yes, and if you do not have a booking, you can simply say, "No, I do not have a booking, but do you have a table for 2 people?" And this is a very polite and simple sentence, and if you are alone, you can say, "Do you have a table for 1?"
Then the waiter might say, "Please follow me," and they will take you to your table. And after you sit down, they may give you a menu. And here we have another vocabulary difference, because in British English, people often say menu the same way Americans do. But when talking about the bill at the end, British people usually say bill, while Americans often say check.
Yes, that difference is very important, because if you are in the UK and you say, "Can I have the check, please?" people will still understand you, but "Can I have the bill, please?" sounds more natural in British English.
Now let's talk about drinks, because this is usually one of the first things people order. And a waiter might ask, "What would you like to drink?" And you can answer, "I would like water, please," or "Could I have a cup of tea?" And in Britain, tea is very common, so you will hear people ordering tea often.
Yes, and here is another vocabulary difference. In Britain, people often say still water for normal water and sparkling water for water with gas. And Americans use these terms too, but in some places they may simply ask, "Do you want tap water or bottled water?"
Now let's look at food vocabulary, because some words are different between British English and American English, and one famous example is chips and crisps.
Yes, this can confuse learners a lot, because in British English, chips are the thick fried potatoes you often eat with burgers or fish, but in American English, those are usually called fries or French fries.
And in British English, crisps are what Americans call chips, the thin snacks that come in a bag. So if you ask for chips in Britain, you may receive something different from what you expect.
Exactly. And another example is starter and appetizer, because in British English, people often say starter for the small food you eat before the main meal, while Americans often say appetizer.
Then you have the main course in British English, and Americans may also say entree, which can be confusing because in some countries entree means a small first dish, but in America it often means the main meal.
Let's imagine we are ordering now, and the waiter asks, "Are you ready to order?" And you can say, "Yes, I would like the chicken pasta, please," or "Could I have the fish and chips, please?" And if you need more time, you can politely say, "Could I have a few more minutes, please?"
That is a very useful phrase because sometimes people feel nervous and need extra time to read the menu.
You may also want to ask questions about the food. For example, is this dish spicy? Or does this contain nuts? And this is important for people with allergies or dietary preferences.
Yes, and if you are vegetarian, you can say, "Do you have any vegetarian options?" And if you do not eat meat for religious reasons, you can ask politely about ingredients.
Let's also talk about dessert, because after the main meal, the waiter may ask, "Would you like any dessert?" And in British English, people usually say dessert or sometimes pudding in casual conversation.
That is true, and Americans usually say dessert more than pudding in this context.
Now imagine you finish eating and you want to pay, and you can say, "Could I have the bill, please?" And this sounds natural in British English.
And remember, Americans often say, "Could I have the check, please?" So now you know both versions.
You may also hear people ask, "Do you take card in Britain?" Because many people pay with bank cards now.
While Americans may say, "Can I pay by credit card?" And both are useful expressions.
Another important topic is takeaway food, and in British English, people often say takeaway, while in America, usually say takeout.
So in Britain, you might ask, "Can I order a takeaway?" While in America, someone might say, "I want to order takeout."
Let's practice a short restaurant conversation.
Hello, do you have a booking?
Yes, I have a booking for 2 people under Sarah.
Perfect. Please follow me to your table.
Thank you very much.
Are you ready to order drinks?
Yes, could I have orange juice, please? And my friend would like tea.
Great. And are you ready to order food?
Yes, I would like fish and chips, and my friend would like a burger and chips.
Excellent choice.
Thank you.
Would you like any dessert?
Yes, I would like chocolate cake, please.
Anything else?
No, thank you. And could we have the bill, please?
Of course.
That sounds like a very normal conversation that learners can use in real life.
Yes, and the most important thing is to stay calm and speak clearly, because restaurant staff are used to hearing many accents and many types of English.
And remember that learning both British and American vocabulary helps you feel more prepared when you travel.
Exactly, and there are still more restaurant situations we can explore, like ordering coffee, asking for recommendations, dealing with mistakes in your order, and speaking in fast food restaurants. And we can continue learning more useful English restaurant English from here. Yes, I think continuing this topic is very useful because restaurants can have many different situations and learners need more than basic ordering phrases because sometimes things do not go exactly as planned and it helps to know how to respond politely in different situations.
That is very true. And one common situation is asking for recommendations, because sometimes people look at the menu and they are not sure what to choose. And in that situation, you can ask the waiter, "What do you recommend?" or "What is popular here?" And these are very natural questions in restaurants.
Yes, and if you want to sound even more polite, you can say, "Could you recommend something?" And the waiter may answer, "Our fish and chips is very popular," or "Many customers enjoy our pasta dishes," and this helps you decide more easily.
Another useful situation is when you do not understand something on the menu, because menus sometimes include words that learners do not know. And you can ask, "What does this dish include?" or "What is this made of?" And this helps you avoid confusion.
Yes, and if you have dietary restrictions, this becomes even more important because someone might ask, "Does this contain dairy?" or "Is this gluten-free?" And restaurants are usually happy to answer these questions.
Let's talk about breakfast restaurants, because breakfast vocabulary can be different from lunch or dinner vocabulary. And in Britain, people often eat things like toast, eggs, beans, sausages, mushrooms, and tea for breakfast. And a famous meal is called a full English breakfast.
Yes, and in America, breakfast may include pancakes, bacon, waffles, cereal, or coffee. And learners should know these differences because menus can change depending on the country.
Imagine you are in a cafe in London in the morning, and the worker asks, "What can I get for you?" And you can say, "I would like a full English breakfast and a cup of tea, please."
Or if you want something lighter, you can say, "I would like toast and coffee, please." Now let's move to coffee shops, because many learners visit coffee shops when they travel, and British and American coffee shops can use slightly different vocabulary too.
Yes. For example, in Britain, people often say takeaway coffee, while Americans often say to-go coffee or coffee to go.
So, in Britain, you might say, "Can I get this as takeaway, please.
And in America, you may hear, would you like that for here or to go?
Another important restaurant situation is when your order is wrong, because sometimes mistakes happen, and you need polite English to solve the problem.
Yes, imagine you ordered chicken, but the waiter brings beef, and you can politely say, excuse me, I think this is not what I ordered.
Or you can say, I ordered chicken, but I received beef, and this sounds calm and polite.
It is important not to panic, because mistakes happen everywhere, and speaking politely usually solves the problem quickly.
Another common issue is waiting too long for food, and sometimes people need to ask politely about their order.
Yes, you can say, excuse me, we have been waiting for a while. Could you check our order, please?
That sounds very polite and respectful.
Let's also talk about fast food restaurants, because the language there can be slightly different.
Yes, in fast food restaurants, workers may ask, would you like fries with that? And remember that in Britain, some places may still say chips depending on the restaurant style.
They may also ask, would you like a meal? Which often means the burger, fries, and drink together.
And if you do not want the full meal, you can say, no thank you, just the burger please.
Another useful phrase is, can I get this without onions? Because many people like to change their order.
Or, can I have extra cheese please?
Customizing food is very common.
Let's talk about fine dining restaurants too, because the language may sound more formal there.
Yes, in expensive restaurants, waiters may say, would you care for some wine? Which sounds more formal than, do you want wine?
And they may ask, are you celebrating anything special today?
You could answer, yes, it's my birthday, or no, we're just enjoying dinner tonight.
Let's also discuss tipping, because this can be very different depending on the country.
Yes, in America, tipping is very common and often expected, and people may leave around 15 to 20% of the bill.
In Britain, service charges may already be included in some restaurants, and tipping culture can feel less intense than in America.
That is very useful for travelers to know, because many learners worry about paying correctly.
Another situation is booking a table on the phone.
Yes, someone may call and say, hello, I would like to book a table for 4 people for Friday night, please.
The worker may ask, what time would you like the table?
And then you can say, 7 o'clock, please.
They may also ask for your name and phone number.
Another modern situation is ordering food online.
Yes, many people now use apps, and they may choose delivery or collection.
In Britain, collection is common when you pick the food yourself.
In America, people often say pick up instead of collection.
Another vocabulary difference learners should know.
Let's practice another longer conversation.
Hello, welcome to our restaurant. Do you have a booking?
No, we do not, but do you have a table for 2?
Yes, please follow me.
Thank you very much.
Here are your menus. Would you like something to drink first?
Yes, could I have sparkling water, please?
Of course. And for you?
I would like orange juice, please.
Are you ready to order food?
Not yet. Could we have a few more minutes, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Are you ready now?
Yes, what do you recommend?
Our pasta and grilled chicken are very popular.
Great. I'll have the pasta, please.
Excellent choice.
Does it contain nuts?
No, it does not.
Perfect.
And what would your friend like?
My friend would like fish and chips, please.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Would you like dessert later?
We'll decide later, thank you.
That conversation sounds very natural and useful.
Yes, and learners should repeat these situations aloud because speaking practice builds confidence.
Exactly. And restaurants are one of the best places to practice real English because the conversations are usually short, clear, and predictable.
And when you understand both British and American vocabulary differences, you feel even more prepared for travel, work, and daily communication.
And there are still even more situations we can explore in restaurants, like eating at hotels, speaking at airport cafes, ordering food at events, and even handling food delivery problems, because restaurant English appears in many parts of daily life, and learning these phrases can help you feel comfortable almost anywhere you go.
And before we finish today's episode, we want to remind you that restaurant English is one of the most practical types of English you can learn, because food is part of everyday life, and whether you travel, study abroad, work in another country, or simply visit a local restaurant where people speak English, these phrases can be very helpful.
Yes, and today we learned how to book a table, order food and drinks, ask questions about the menu, solve small problems politely, pay the bill, and even understand important differences between British and American vocabulary. And these small differences can make your conversations much easier when you travel.
For example, now you know that British people often say booking, bill, chips, crisps, takeaway, and collection.
And Americans often say reservation, check, fries, chips, takeout, and pickup. And understanding both versions helps you communicate in many different English-speaking countries.
And remember, you don't need long, complicated sentences in restaurants because simple and polite English works very well. Phrases like, "Could I have, please?" "What do you recommend?" and "Could I have the bill, please?" are already very useful.
Also, don't be afraid of making mistakes because restaurant workers speak with many international visitors every day, and they usually understand that English learners are trying their best.
A great way to practice after this episode is to pretend you're in a restaurant and speak out loud. Practice ordering your favorite meal, asking for dessert, or even making a booking on the phone.
You can also practice by looking at real restaurant menus online and reading food names in English, because this helps you build vocabulary in a fun way.
Keep listening, keep repeating, and keep practicing, because confidence grows with repetition.
Thank you so much for listening to Learn English with Sam and Pam today, and we hope this lesson helps you feel comfortable speaking English in restaurants anywhere in the world.
We'll see you in the next episode with another useful everyday topic. And until then, enjoy your food, keep learning English, and take care, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy learning.